G'day folks, Scott here. Today I'm reviewing the Oculus Quest. So I recently received my Oculus Quest. Like last year, I bought the Oculus Go, which at the time I bought that had already been out a year. I bought it directly from Oculus. Same deal with this. I bought it directly from them, posted straight to my house, postage free, really quick, great. So the Go, as I said in my previous review, which I'll link down the bottom, you can watch that if you're interested, was a fixed perspective, 360, just sitting still, looking around with basically a laser pointer for within there that you could point and interact with objects. The Quest is the next step up. This is halfway, sort of leaning more towards high-end VR than that. This still is a mobile phone processor in here, but it pulls off a lot more, and most importantly is its motion controllers. So these two controllers, as opposed to one that came with the Go, are really incredibly well done, and the tracking on them is great. I'll go over that in a sec. So I don't have PC VR. I don't have a PC, I have a Mac, and Macs aren't for gaming, so it's just not something I've done. I have the Go, as obviously I reviewed before. I have the PlayStation VR, which is really good at what it does to a degree, and then this thing. So I guess this is easier to compare to PSVR than it is to the Go, because the Go is just in another league. That's definitely just a mobile phone 360 video with really low-end games, whereas this has a lot of games ported directly from PC and from PlayStation VR. So the differences, I guess, between this and a PSVR from a hardware perspective, this is still a Snapdragon processor. It's a mobile phone processor. I'm blown away by how far they can push the thing, but that's essentially what it is. Whereas the PlayStation is a big console that's shooting all the hardware, doing all the graphical work, and then putting it up cables to the headset, so it has a lot more power behind it. That being said, the resolution on this absolutely destroys VR on PlayStation. VR on PlayStation is 1080p. I can't remember what it is on this, but it's more than double. So that fly screen effect that you get using PlayStation VR in some games is almost unnoticeable in this. Elements that PSVR does better is more, volumetric smoke and lighting and particle effects and all those things that the PlayStation hardware is so good at and can push so hard, whereas some of those effects this can't do, but the resolution, its performance, and its tracking is so far beyond the PlayStation thing that it's totally worth it. The tracking on this thing, there's 4 cameras on the front of this, so it sees the controllers. PlayStation still uses the old PlayStation 3 Move controllers, and the tracking a ball of light and stuff. It drops out all the time. No matter how you position it, you're still going to have trouble with it tracking you trying to pick up stuff on the floor or above your head, because that camera only has certain much, a wide ratio that it can see, and anything outside of what the camera can see, then the tracking goes and it doesn't work. So forever with games, some games are completely unplayable on there, like that Rick and Morty game, for example. There were parts where I had to pick something off the floor and it just couldn't do it because the camera couldn't see whether I had it above the TV or beneath the TV. It was just a nightmare. So the beauty of this is these rings around the controller emit light that this headset 4 cameras see, so you're generally always looking around, and I don't have dropouts at all. Adding to that, using 2 is just incredible. Generally, you use this button on the side there to pick objects up, that to interact with them, usually shoot or whatever. You've got buttons on the face of it to walk around, and analog sticks and that. It's really well done. It's really intuitive. It works really well. Game wise, probably the sort of standout software that I played when I first got it was the Star Wars Vader Immortal Part 1, which is a cheap as game. It's like $15 in Australia, I think $10 in the other regions. It only goes for like 30-40 minutes, hence it being so cheap. But it's a Star Wars interactive story, sort of not full-fledged game, but definitely not just to sit there as a passive observer. And it's incredible, The only other Star Wars VR I'd done before that was the flying thing that they had on PlayStation VR, that free mission you could download for Star Wars Battlefront, which was incredible. But this is different. I'm walking around and stuff. The standout moment, like being waking up in a detention area in an Imperial base and having one of the, floating Imperial droids from New Hope, like right in your face with the needles and that, and then it backs off, and then Vader shows up at the end of the corridor and slowly walks down, and having Vader right in front of you, and that guy towers above you, is so tall, and it's so convincing. And then using a lightsaber for the first time in VR, like literally tracked perfectly, blocking laser bolts from tracking droids and fighting things. And there was an escape where, you're on this like shuttle and all these stormtroopers are after you and you're trying to defend yourself with a lightsaber and deflecting bolts and all. It ticked heaps of boxes. Like, it was really, really cool for what it is, and I'm really keen for the others. Other standout software is definitely Space Pirate Trainer, which is easily described as basically Gallagher or Space Invaders. You're standing on this platform in space, and all these little spaceships come along, and you're using, your dual-wielding guns to shoot them all, and it's about scores and all that, and you can dodge bullets when they're coming in, and you have a shield that you can deflect them with. It's really super cool, really fun. Robo Recall, which is an Oculus exclusive game, is incredible. The resolution and graphics and that works really well. Again, I know it's not up there with the high-end PCs, but for what it is, the graphics are insane. And that's a wave-based shooter like a lot of VR shooters are, but the interactivity, the fact that you're dual wielding the guns are super accurate. Matrixy with the fact that if you can drop your gun and guys are shooting at you, and you can literally like reach out and catch bullets and like throw them back, and catch rockets and throw them back, and you can grab robots and use them as a shield or snap them off and throw their arms and legs as a weapon. Like, really interactive, really good. Now, the biggest thing that I didn't actually go over with this, apart from it being completely wireless and untethered, which is very liberating when using VR, is its use of room scale. I can set up a 6x6 space in my lounge room, just pushing furniture aside, and then you can see the world through these cameras. It's like this crazy black and white sort of image, and it gets you to use one of these to paint a line around your room that's a boundary, and then it lets all the games let you play in that space, and it's going to warn you when you get near the edge to go, hey, you're going to collide with something, and a sort of this safety grid comes up that's blue, and then if you get too close, it's red. So you know not to step any further, but it gives you a big environment if you've got the space to use it. And doing things like, say, the Creed boxing game, where you can move a lot around and duck and weave and that around the ring, and just being able to step and sidestep and walk around in Robo Recall and Vader, and that is very liberating. And it really sells the VR experience. It gives just another small tick to give it that believability. This has built-in headphones in the straps here. They're pretty good. They give you a pretty good wide space of field, but there are headphones on both sides of them, headphone jacks, so you can run your own in. I haven't got them, but the official Oculus ones have basically two separate earpieces, so one plugs in each side and then runs down the straps here, so it's all completely out of the way, which is pretty cool. I may get them eventually. But overall, this device really, really surprised me with how much better it was, and it's way better than I expected it to be. From a cost perspective, if you're adding a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation VR together, that would be more, and the motion controllers and everything together, it's way more expensive than this. This model is a 64 gig. It's $649, or I think it's $699 for the 128 gig. I got the 64. It's more than enough. But value for money, I feel, for what it is incredible. Like, it works so well. It's so easy. I love the fact that, unlike the PlayStation VR, where I'm having to like pull cables out and plug things in and like untether everything and get it ready to play, literally you just snap this into standby mode, put it down, come back later, smack it on your head, press that. It remembers the play space you've given it to. It can remember, I think, up to 5 in different rooms or in different parts of the same room, so you don't have to remap the environment again for it every time you use it. It's just easy. It's so quick to just pick it up and play that it makes me go back to it more than I did with the PlayStation VR, because it's just easy to use. I reckon that's about all I've got to say about it. I highly recommend it. If you haven't got VR and you want to, this is a great place. It has all your, Beat Sabers and a lot of the major VR games available on it, and many more coming. So yeah, that's it. I really like it. I recommend it. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.